Us with what happened, the fallout post-election day. Someone who knows a thing or two about Virginia, Eric Cantor, former Virginia congressman, GOP House Majority Leader, now chairman and managing director at Moelis and Company. It was close. We were just talking. It was a low turnout. You actually picked the Republicans picked up a seat in the Senate, but that wasn't enough, and they lost 3 seats in the House, and that flipped the House because it was close.
Listen, Joe, I mean, you got to first sort of think about this is an off year.
Off year.
Off year. I mean, we didn't have any statewide officials running, so Youngkin was not on the ballot. And the interesting point about that is he maintains real popularity in Virginia. I mean, his numbers are in the high 50% of approval rating in a state that is completely divided. I think that's the story coming out of this. If we want to take anything about what this means for next year, is we've got certainly Virginia that's reflective of a national electorate. We are divided, and very, very closely. It came down to maybe 4,000 votes in the state, and unfortunately, we came up a little short.
And so Youngkin probably is not going to jump into the fray.
Listen, I'm not going to speak for the governor, but I would say that you can't transfer that kind of popularity. I think that's sort of the takeaway, too. Right. And look, you got to hand it to him, though. He threw everything at it. He sort of said to the noise, keep the noise about anything national aside, and I'm going to focus on Virginia. He raised tens of millions of dollars.
Although he also did say that he would try and put into action a very severe abortion restriction plan at 15 weeks. Right. Is any of this pushback on that?
Because Ohio is no blue. They try to claim it's blue, but I'm from there.
Listen, there are threads of the abortion issue, certainly in Ohio, that was prominent, but also in the Kentucky gubernatorial race, and certainly in Virginia. The Democrats threw all the money they could at that issue.
Is that a national issue that loses for Republicans?
Here's the thing, though. Glenn Youngkin's position was nuanced. And the Democrats came in and just basically said that Republicans are going to ban access to abortion. Mm-hmm. So essentially planted seeds of doubts in the minds of voters that you can't trust Republicans on abortion. And that's, I think, what happened in the takeaway. Very difficult to nuance.
But is that a national losing election for Republicans if you look into the elections next year?
Becky, I think that when you've got an electorate that's as divided as we are as a country, the intensity that attaches to the issue of access to abortion services does drive turnout. And I think that's
Nikki Haley right.
That's the takeaway, and I think as we look forward to next year's presidential election,
you'll see them get in line. Yeah, you'll see Republicans start. They're going to become. When the population moves, it just takes a while for both parties.
Listen, but it wasn't the Youngkin's position. It was nuanced, and then I think all the.
But that might be the state of Virginia. But then you go to Ohio, go to the rest of the country. So you could make this argument about specifically, if you want to, on a sort of idiosyncratic basis about Youngkin, but the rest of the country is not in the same. It was not having the same issue.
I think that, again, what the issue was in Ohio, I have not looked at sort of the granularity of what was going on there, but I do think what they said was, when listening to Governor DeWine, that the referendum question was put into our state constitution access, and it'll be up to the physician as to how long that physician has the right to perform an abortion. And so unlimited in a way, which is an unreasonable, kind of position to take, but yet voters listened and said, oh, we can't trust Republicans, they'll ban it. So
it wasn't close. It was 56-44. Yeah. There was no,
Very hard to nuance that question. And then the question in Virginia is like, Youngkin tried to go on offense on this and tried to offer up a position rather than just talk about crime and public safety. Because I'll tell you, that is a poignant issue as well. And there was one race. It was a prosecutor, a Commonwealth's attorney in Loudoun County up in Northern Virginia. He was one of the most left-leaning progressive prosecutors George Soros funded. He lost, which is interesting in all this sort of, because it is an issue. I do think that's going to be.
Too far.
Yes, too far.
Yeah. So Joe Biden's the Democratic nominee, 95%.
I think so.
Yeah. Donald Trump, the Republican nominee, 90%.
Look, I just find I don't see how he's not our nominee. I don't see it. I mean,
What happens if he's convicted?
Well, listen, if he's, I mean, Andrew, you know that
He can be convicted and then he's going to go on an appeal?
He's going to go on appeal.
Right.
That's right. That's
and
right.
are you going to vote for him?
That's right. Listen, I'm a Republican.
Right. So you'd vote for somebody who's convicted?
I will vote for a Republican, yes. I think and this is an amazing thing to me. You think that some of that is maybe crazy, Andrew. You look at the other side and what's going on in the streets of these cities on the question of Palestine.
And are you going to vote for Biden if he's going to be 86 at the end of his term and Kamala Harris is the vice president? Are you going to vote for Biden?
You look at the issue of public safety.
No, but that's just you ask a question. You put him on the spot. Are you going to vote for Biden?
I am putting him on the
So if he's
spot.
going to be 86 and Kamala's waiting in the wings, you're going to vote for Biden?
How in the world would you put our country in that position?
Well, let me ask you a question.
You're not answering.
Because it's not.
Well, neither is he.
I'm the journalist asking the question.
All right.
Okay.
Oh, well, that's good.
How in the world
Would you hire a convicted criminal?
How in the
Would you
world?
hire a convicted criminal, Molis? Would you? And
No.
hold on. Here's a serious question. Would you put a convicted criminal on the payroll of Molis in front of your clients in a boardroom?
Andrew, I don't think that's a relevant question.
It's a completely relevant question.
No, because we are a regulated entity. We would be precluded.
Bingo.
We would be precluded
Bingo.
because you'd have to go through license.
But you see why his poll numbers are up? Because no one believes that these are real charges,
convictions. That's
Andrew.
correct.
No one believes it. So if you have an attorney general,
I know that you
says,
don't believe they're real
No,
charges.
I do believe they're real. But if you have an attorney general who runs on, elect me because I'm going to take this guy down, that's like not normal.
How do you square that? That is true. How do you square the fact you've got a politician up here in New York?
I don't love that.
Right.
I don't love that.
It stinks. The whole thing stinks. And this is why the country, I am so sorry to see that we have gone down this path, because we are going to start to look like a banana republic when we've got vengeance and all the motivations that are behind what's going on with Trump.
The charges in Georgia are different than
But the charges in Georgia are different. The charges in Washington are different.
You've got the documents case where, Bill Barr will sit here and tell you that he thinks on that one in particular that there are some legitimate, sort of.
But as a man of judgment and character, I'm going to give this to you.
Here we go.
No, I say this because I think your job today, you work on Wall Street, is to go into boardrooms and speak to corporate clients and others and have credibility that you have good judgment, that you are a man of judgment and character.
Right.
Okay? People are hiring you. Shareholders are effectively spending money to buy your judgment.
Yep.
Okay. And what I'm saying is I do not believe, maybe I'm wrong, that you would put Donald Trump on your payroll.
Well, I just told you, it's not even a relevant question.
Are you still being the journalist, or are you now something else?
I'm asking the question.
Right,
okay.
But it's just not a relevant question because there are regulatory constructs you cannot,
do you want to,
would FINRA require.